welcome. This is Business Breakfast coming to you live from iBrandTV studios here in Lagos, Nigeria's commercial capital. Coming up in a moment, federal government faces tough choices over Naira devaluation as the local currency exchange for 564 Naira to $1 in the parallel market. This is coming on the back of Vice President Osinbajo asking the CBN to float the exchange rate to stabilize the local currency. And also on the program, the equities market of the Nigerian Exchange Limited bounced back with 95.34 billion. So we will be reviewing the market later and, of course, the factors that drove the market upward yesterday. All right, let's begin with some stories here. The Office of Vice President has thrown light on Professor Osinbajo's latest statement on monetary policy at the midterm ministerial performance review retreat, stating that the Vice President did not call for Naira devaluation, but rather for a flexible exchange rate to halt the huge arbitrage in the sector. Lauluako, the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Office of the Vice President, disclosed this in a statement clarifying Vice President Osinbajo's position on the Naira exchange rate, in which he urged for more policies to improve the supply of foreign exchange. Away from there now, the Revenue Mobilization Allocation and Fiscal Commission has said it will be prepared to present a new revenue sharing formula to President Muhammadu Buhari for onward transmission to the National Assembly by December. The office disclosed that the ongoing discussion and sensitization across the country were aimed at avoiding past drawbacks that made past attempts to review the formula unsuccessful. Affirming the preparedness of the Commission to present the new revenue formula, the Commission Chairman, Elias Mbam, also blamed logistics for the failure of the Commission to fulfill similar promises in the past. And now the International Monetary Fund has raised Nigeria's 2021 economic growth forecast slightly from the previous 2.5% it had to an estimated 2.6%. In addition, the fund reviewed the country's 2022 growth prediction upward from 2.6% to 2.7%. The IMF made this known in its latest World Economic Outlook released yesterday at the ongoing hybrid annual joint meetings in collaboration with the World Bank in Washington, D.C. Speaking during a virtual media briefing on the WEO, the Economic Council and Director of the Research Department, Gilcho Jopina, while answering questions on recovery in Africa, said that the continent has gone through a very challenging time with the ongoing COVID-19 crisis. Jopina further said the international community has an important role to play in being able to restructure Africa's debt and also providing additional financing within the region. And now the Central Bank of Nigeria has said it needs to revise regulatory framework for bank verification number operations that violators will be sanctioned. This was disclosed in a circular to all deposit money banks, mobile money operators, super agents, and payment service providers tied to the issuance of revised regulatory framework for bank verification number operations and watch lists for the Nigerian banking industry. The circular further states infractions by participants will attract appropriate penalties. The CBN said it will ensure that all operated accounts and wallets except Tier 1 open through agents are linked with the signatories' BVNs within 24 hours. That's a wrap with the top stories now. Still to come on the program, we'll be taking a look at the exchange rate. Of course, the effort to save the exchange rate has continued to gain more attention. So that's where we'll focus on when we come back from this break. Please just stay with us. Glad to have you back. Now let's go straight to the discussion. I've been joined right now by Mr. Gamaliel Tanimomo, who is a business strategist. He joins me on the phone. Thank you so much for your time, Gamaliel. Let's go. Yes. Yes,
Thank
it's
you
good
for
to have
having
you.
me, sir. Good morning.
Yeah, it's good to have you. Okay, so the effort to save the, of course, the continuous falling of the naira is something that has been ongoing. But the VP is asking the central bank to allow the floating of the naira to reflect market realities. But experts are saying that this is more like devaluation of the naira. So what is your impression about the VP's position to salvage the situation in the foreign exchange market?
Okay, so thanks for having me, and good morning to our viewers, Lagos, Nigeria, and irrespective of where you're listening from. So that's viewpoint by the VP was during the ministerial performance management system, and there has been so much of controversy around that conversation. But personally, I'm of the opinion that first off, there has to be a congruence between our monetary policy and our fiscal policy. We can't be speaking from both sides of the mouth, and that is it. Now, the stand of the VP on allowing the supply side of Forex to be subjected to floating exchange range looks somehow, it has its pros and its cons. And I would look at it from this perspective. Now, how do you increase supply of Forex? One of the ways to increase supply of Forex is one, increase exports of goods and services. Now, Nigeria as a country, we are lacking behind in exports. We are largely an import-driven economy, and I could go on and on and on. And this has put immense pressure on the dollar. So if we want to increase supply, we need to drive exports. And when I mean export, we need to stop being a consumer country. We need to produce. So look around you, you will see a lot of industry have become moribund. There's been movements to neighboring countries because of power issues, etc., etc. Number two is amount of FDI, foreigners' investment in the country. And of course, if you look at this metrics as well, we've not been doing well in terms of how much foreign direct investment is coming into the country, which is occasioned by rising insecurity, policy somersault, etc., etc. So I feel that we need to have an harmonized Forex window. Of course, the CBA governor has said that the I and in window, which implies that the investor and exporters window is the only exchange rate, which has caused a lot of issues, Aboki effects, etc., etc. But I'm of the opinion that we need a single harmonized window. And the clearance by the VP has its own pros and cons. That is what I can say for now on that.
But I would think that we're already exporting, except you were talking about activities in other sectors, non-oil sectors, because at the moment, I think the major export products that we have or we depend on is the crude oil, which of course that has been established. But I think the position of the central bank is the fact that the value of the naira at the moment, compared to other currencies of the world, especially the dollar, which is our benchmark, it's low.
Okay, thank you again for putting that in perspective. We export crude oil, but the question is, should we even do that in the first place? We have 4 refineries that are performing suboptimally. Thank God for Aliko Dangote that is coming to our rescue. I mean, his refinery is doing 650,000 barrels per day, which is one refinery is more than one private refinery is more than our 4 put together. So that is suboptimal in itself. So if you say we're exporting, I'm not talking about crude oil right now. I'm talking about a lot of things we have. Nigeria is blessed, my brother. We have huge natural endowment that can exported. So I'm talking about we exporting Nigeria to the whole world. So there are rumors, I don't know how confirmed it is. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I'm with you. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, there are rumors that Malaysia came to this country, took palm oil, and then where are we today? Those are the conversations that I want us to have. So just yesterday, I read in the news, the Nigeria Export Council did something around putting Nigerian products on Amazon. It was declared open by Mr. Sheikh Mawolo, the DG of the Nigerian Export Council. Those are the conversations we need to have. We need to reduce dependence on dollar. And it's because we dollarize everything. We're consuming economies. We literally import everything. And if you import, you're going to place pressure on the dollar, on the naira, I beg your pardon. So look at e-naira, for example. The CBN outsourced e-naira to a foreign agency. Are you telling me that there are no competent hands in Nigeria that can do the e-naira? I mean, a Flutterwave can do that. And so, Nigeria has 4 unicorns for crying out loud. So we need to balance and not speak from both sides of the mouth. We need to set our priorities right as a nation. And I'm sure we can do it if we have the political will and if we have the economic will. We can definitely do it.
Okay, just before we get to the policy aspects, how we can start harmonizing and all of that, and some views of some experts, let's even talk about more on that devaluation. Of course, the question is what exactly is devaluation, which we all know that is a reduction of the value of the naira in relation with other currencies. But if you look at the value of the naira right now, compared to other currencies, even within the African, sub-Saharan African countries. So how would you rate the value of the naira right now, vis-a-vis in relation to other currencies?
So we can only compare likes with like. And when I mean we can only compare likes with like, it's always good to benchmark certain things. So naira devaluation vis-a-vis some other currencies, Nigeria is not doing badly. I mean, let's be honest, Nigeria is not doing badly. But when we look at our position as the biggest economy in Africa, there's a lot that's expected from us. Because a lot of things drive economic growth. So number one is look at our power generation. It is still abysmal. We are still struggling with 4,000 megawatts. I mean, I've known about this conversation on 4,000 since I was young. I'm not old, but it's still the same conversation.
Right.
Now, growth is not linear. Growth is a sum of averages. So we need to do a lot of things, and then the critical mass will give us the results that we want. Now, the Nigerian economy is facing massive foreign exchange crisis, and the depreciation of naira, like we're currently discussing now. So look at it, for example. I mean, CBN has said that they will go during the last MPC meeting. They said they will not return to selling foreign exchange to BDCs. I don't know how long the CBN will hold on to that. But look at the fluctuations in the market. So our currency is not doing badly. But I think that if we put the right measures in place in terms of fiscal policies in terms of monetary policies, we can be a stronger currency. Yes.
But the question, let's get to this question now. The question is whether to devalue or not to devalue. But will it be even right in the first place to consider devaluing the naira? Since you said the naira is not even doing badly in the first place.
That's some tough question to answer. Now, no decision is without its pros and cons.
Right.
So it's just like asking me, should we privatize some sectors? Yes, President Obasanjo privatized the telecom sector, and today we are both seeing the dividends. So if we devalue, there will be immediate gains and there will be immediate gains. But if we are devaluing, we need to cushion the likely effects of immediate gains. Let me say that again. If we go the route of Naira devaluation, we will need to provide cushion for immediate pains. So if you devalue, for example, you can rest assured that everyone who's got dollars starts in their Ikoyi, ice scrapers or anywhere. I mean, they'll definitely have a run for what it is that they're doing. So devaluation is neither here nor there, but it has to be done with a bit of not emotions, but economic balance, so that we don't create more problem than we anticipated.
But let's look at also the you talked about whether to also ramp up activities in other sectors of the economy apart from focusing on oil. What would you say should be our focus for now in terms of activities, focusing on activities or on different sectors of the economy? What would that sector be for you?
That sector will be one, agriculture. That sector will be fintech. If we can do that, we'll be fine. We'll be fine. So look, like I said, Nigeria has 4 unicorns. Imagine if we liberalize that sector. We are fluid in policy. I mean, Nigeria can reach 10 unicorns. So look at, for example, Facebook, Instagram, I can't remember the last one. They all went berserk last week. I mean, why can't we have our own local communication channel? You can't go to China and use WhatsApp. You use WeChat in China. We can do it in Nigeria. But of course, the question is, for a government that is struggling with these trust issues, how do we undo that? During the course of the week, I don't know if you are aware, MTN went berserk as well. So there are huge potentials. They are huge. But for me, if you do a lot in the fintech space, and if you practice mechanized farming, we can feed Nigeria. I mean, there's acute food shortage right now, occasioned by rising insecurity. There are issues around VAT. Every state in Nigeria can be autonomous. Every state. We have a large land mass in Nigeria, but we're not utilizing it. If you compare our land mass with output and compares China's land mass with output, vis-a-vis income per capita head, we are nowhere, my brother. We are nowhere, but this is what it is.
Okay, just before we go on break, let's talk more on fintech. Now that you talk about focusing on fintech, I mean, there are so many activities that we can look at. Would you suggest one? I mean, there are product innovation, like you have, a payment system like Paystack for instance, and then some other activities in that space. So, what exactly do you think we should be doing?
Perspective. There's been some government policies that have attempted to further stifle the fintech sector. We need to loosen it a little bit. And this is what I mean. What exactly is the government doing in terms of providing incubation startups? So a conversation that is going on right now is right of way. State has started. Lagos has started. Can we have some incubation hubs around? But we can't have incubation hubs if you don't have right of way, if you don't have increase in broadband penetration. If we increase broadband penetration, pardon me, by 10%, there's going to be a 3%, 5% jump in GDP. Those are the conversations we need to start having. But we can also increase broadband penetration as also not increase power supply, because of what relevance is data if I don't have light. So, like I said, growth is not linear. We need to drive growth across sectors so that when we take averages, it comes all together in one bucket.
I think we'd like to, let's just take a moment, Gamalia. We'll be back to talk more. I mean, one conversation that has been, or concerns that have been raised about this issue is the fact that there's been a bit of disharmony between the fiscal authorities and the monetary authorities. I think we need to look at that when we come back from this break. Please stay with us.
Yes, sir.
Glad to have you back now. You'll be watching Business Breakfast coming to you live from iBrandTV studios here in Lagos, Nigeria. Let's turn attention to more stories now. The Office of Vice President has thrown light on Professor Yemi Osinbajo's latest statement on monetary policy at the midterm ministerial performance review retreat, stating that the Vice President did not call for Naira devaluation, but rather for a flexible exchange rate to halt the huge arbitrage in this sector. Lalwakonde, Special Assistant to the President of Media and Publicity Office of the Vice President, disclosed this in a statement clarifying Vice President Yemi Osinbajo's position on the Naira exchange rate, in which he urged for more policies to improve the supply of foreign exchange. And away from there now, the Revenue Mobilization Allocation and Fiscal Commission has said it will be prepared to present a new revenue sharing formula to President Muhammadu Buhari for onward transmission to the National Assembly by December. The Commission disclosed that the ongoing discussion and sensitization across the country were aimed at avoiding past drawbacks that made past attempts to review the formula successful. Affirming the preparedness of the Commission to present the new revenue formula, Chairman of the Commission, Elias Mbam, also blamed logistics for failure of the Commission to fulfill similar promises in the past. And in the meantime, the International Monetary Fund has raised Nigeria's 2021 economic growth forecast slightly from the previous 2.5% it had to an estimated 2.6%. In addition, the fund reviewed the country's 2022 growth prediction upward from 2.6% to 2.7%. The IMF made this known in its latest World Economic Outlook released yesterday at the ongoing hybrid annual joint meetings in collaboration with the World Bank in Washington, D.C. Speaking during a virtual media briefing on the Council, the Economic Counselor and Director of the Research Department, Gopina, while answering questions on recovery in Africa, said that the continent has gone through a very challenging time with the ongoing COVID-19 crisis. Gopinath further said the international community has an important role to play in being able to restructure Africa's debt and also providing additional financing with the region. And finally, the Central Bank of Nigeria has said in its revised regulatory framework for bank verification number operations that violators will be sanctioned. This was disclosed in a circular to all deposit money banks, mobile money operators, super agent and payment service providers tied to issuance of revised regulatory framework for bank verification number operations and watch list for the Nigerian banking industry. The circular further states infractions by participants will attract appropriate penalties. The CBN said it will ensure that all operated accounts and wallets, except Tier 1, open through agents, are linked with the signatories' BVN within 24 hours. Well, and that's it with the stories breaking now. We take a break. When we come back, of course, we focus more talking about the role of the fiscal authority and the monetary authorities in stabilizing the exchange rate. We'll be back in a moment. Please stay with us. Glad to have you back now. If you just join us, this is Business Breakfast coming to you from iBrandTV studios here in Lagos, Nigeria. All right, let's continue with our conversation earlier. Gamaliel Tanimomo is a business strategist, been with us looking at the position of Vice President on the exchange or the Forex crisis rocking Nigeria. So thank you for your time, Gamaliel. So I was going to, we were going to talk about the role of fiscal authorities and, of course, the monetary authority. The question is, how can we reconcile these disparities? Because the position of the vice president is that there seems to be a lot of clash of interest, of disparities between these two authorities.
Okay, thank you. So let me look at it from an HR perspective. The goal is more important than the role. So anytime I do team bonding sessions, I say that. So there has to be some measure of handshake and alignment between all the MDAs, agencies, parastatals, and all of that, so that we don't take one step forward and two steps backwards, as it were. Having said that, in creating an handshake between the monetary and the fiscal policies, there has to be a will. There has to be a will to do that. So I'm going to digress a little bit. The president has presented the 2022 budget,
right,
budget of economic growth and sustainability, and it is proposed expenditure is 16.39 trillion. If you look at the matrices of that budget presentation, I was listening to the president, and I looked at the matrices. I mean, they are somewhat good, but the question is, have we learned from the past? Have we learned our lessons in terms of what has worked for us and what has not worked? And this is what I mean. They're looking at oil revenues of 3.15 trillion, non-oil revenues of 2.13 trillion. So look at the disparity in a world where we are looking at zero carbon, zero emission. We are still dwelling on oil. Oil is not the next oil, my brother. Data is the next oil. Fintech is the next oil. Flutterwave has a capitalization that is more than 10 banks combined together, if I am not exaggerating. Flutterwave's capitalization is more than, maybe an Access Bank, maybe a GTB Bank, if I'm not exaggerating. And
right.
How old are these banks? These banks are more than 10 years, but Flutterwave is probably less than 5-6 years. So we need to look at all those conversations. Now, another thing we need to look at is Nigeria taxes represent 6.1%, which is one of the lowest in the world. Our average tax to GDP ratio is very, very low. And one of the pillars of fiscal policy is to use government spending and taxation to influence the economy. I was listening to statistics, I don't know where I stumbled on it, that less than 1 million, now don't quote me, less than 1 million Nigerians, or slightly above, pay taxes more than 1 million naira.
Right.
And that is poor.
But let me come in a little bit. Yeah, like what you just said now. Using taxes, payers' money to influence economic activities and all of that. Based on what you just talked about earlier, I think the position of the vice president is that, look, some of the programs initiated by the central bank, it's more like what the ministries and departments of the government, the agencies and department of the government should be doing. For instance, that if the Anchor Borrowers Program, initiated by the central bank, should be managed by the Ministry of Agriculture, then supervised by the central bank. But it will seem that the central bank initiated it and be the one to supervise it. So he was trying to look at how do we harmonize these duplications of roles so as to ensure that some of this thing you just highlighted will yield fruit at the end of the day.
So going back, thank you for sharing that perspective again. Going back to what I said when we resumed, I said the goal is more important than the role. So some of these things that CBN is doing should have been domiciled with the relevant NDAs. So our borrower should be with the Ministry of Agri.
Right.
I mean, there are several other things that aligns with this school of thought, that the operationalization is poor. So execution really is the problem. Now the CBN is becoming the judge and the jury. The CBN needs to also do more strategic work and not be involved in operations. So when you look at the pyramid, you have the C-suite executive. They are just in charge of strategy. The middle level, they're in charge of interpretation of the strategy. And then the bottom of the pyramid is about the execution, the implementation, the modus operandi. So I think that is what the CBN should do. And that is what the VP was reiterating, like you also pointed it out, to say that if you have a program, decentralize it. I mean, it is wrong for us to have, so look at it, let me quote him. He said, I'm convinced that the demand management strategy currently adopted by the CBN needs a rethink, and that is just my view. Now, Mr. Akonde said the Vice President advocated a Forex policy that could curb arbitration and corruption. So,
right.
Like you already said, we need to decentralize some of these things and let people know what they need to do per time.
Interesting. Now that you've talked about the role of the fiscal policy, the role of the fiscal authority now, the monetary authority rather, talking about the central bank. Now let's talk about how can the youth be captured at the fiscal authority level now, can be captured in all of these development and initiative that may come up in the 2022 budget.
How can what?
I was asking you, how can we capture young people? Because you were talking about being able to open up the fintech space, I mean the technology space, so as to ensure that we have enough of activities going up there. But it would seem that young people are left out in this initiative. So I was asking you, how can we capture the young generation based on the picture you painted earlier?
Okay, thank you, sir. The size of the global digital economy is put at $11.5 trillion. It just tells you a lot. 5G is the latest technology right now, and it's driving huge conversations, improving lives, smart cities, and all of that. So I know that the Minister of ICT, Issa Pantaya, has a lot. There are a lot of documents, policy, but again, it is localizing this document. One is, I expect us to look at our educational sector. Can we overhaul the curriculum, our curriculum? I mean, a 17th century syllabus cannot take us to the moon. So we need to rejig our educational system. Can we introduce more 21st century compliant courses, AI, robotics, data analytics, etc., etc. Another way we can include the youth is by coming up with cluster programs. So I listened to the news yesterday and I saw EDC doing something with MasterCard Foundation. And they're trying to provide job employment, ICT training to about 20,000 youths every year. That is infinitesimal compared to the scale of what we want. Unemployment in Nigeria, if I'm not exaggerating, the rate is somewhere in the neighborhood double digits. Same thing with inflation rate. So if you want to democratize some things and involve the youth, make it attractive. I mean, I can't ask, someone can ask me to go to the farm, for example. The question is, what would make farming attractive to Gamaliel? What would make farming attractive to Io? Or to you, rather, as it were. So we need to speak the language of the youth. We need to make them understand that they are the future of Nigeria. We need to come up with so many programs. I mean, we can't be bereft of ideas if it's not possible. But again, the political will is our problem. The the political will is our problem. We need to ensure that we loosen up our policy so that they are not too, we don't tighten the rules, ease of doing business. So I know that the World Bank has scrapped that report, citing data, inadequacies, etc., etc. But look around you. I mean, it is easier for you to clear your container at the Apapa port than it is easier for a camel to pass through the eye of the needle. So let us begin to create jobs. I mean, the government promise was going to lift 100 million people out of poverty. The question is, how many people are living below poverty line? So I do not think that government is rocket science. If Lee Kuan Yew can move his country from third world to first world, my brother Nigerian can do it. Yeah. 1979, Dubai was barely a desert. But today, if you have not been to Dubai, you are likely committing a crime. And everything rises and falls on leadership.
That's right. Thank you so much. I want to thank you for your thought. Gamaliel Tanimomo is a business strategist. Thank you for finding time to be with us on Business Breakfast this morning. We appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me, and good morning.
You're still watching Business Breakfast, coming to you live from our studios here. Coming up now, the equities market of the Nigerian Exchange Limited bounced back with 95.34 billion at the end of trading session yesterday. So when we come back from this break, we'll look at what is driving the market. We'll be back in a moment. Please stay with us. Glad to have you back now. The equities market of the Nigerian Exchange Limited bounced back with 95.34 billion naira gain on Tuesday following renewed buying interest on 27 stocks. The all-share index increased by 0.45% to close at 40,896.96 basis points from 40,714 basis points the previous day, while the market capitalization of stocks increased to 21.31 trillion naira from 21.22 trillion naira on Monday. The total volume and value traded appreciated by 194.75% and 96.72% respectively. So at yesterday, a total of 563.8 million units of shares valued at 5.1 billion naira were traded in about 4,253 deals when compared to the previous day. Being joined right now to put some insight into the sentiment driving, the positive sentiment driving the market is the Chief Research Officer of Invest Data Consulting, Mr. Ambrose Omodion, joins us now. Thank you for your time on the program once again.
Yeah, thank you.
So let me start by asking you, the market was able to recover the losses recorded the previous day. How would you, or what would you attribute the gain of yesterday to?
Actually, I've said it earlier that in the week the week we are considering that today's already Monday, Tuesday, that we expect a mixed trend in this week, being the week that usher in the actual figures of many companies that have their December year end, that will be using their third quarter, and those that have March as year end, we're using their Q2 this month and the third quarter from this week. So investors are already looking at where is value, where can I get appreciation in my investment. Knowing that traders are always trading news and information. And don't forget that this week also we're expecting economic data from a Bureau of Statistics. That means we're talking about the consumer price index for the month of September. Then on that, investors are already looking at where can I put money. Knowing that the banks, as I said earlier, that these banks are the ones that run any economy. They are the engine of any economy. And you can see that anywhere there is kind of growth or recovery, banks are there, are positioned to benefit from it most. And also the oil price recovering almost since post-COVID till now, it's also a plus for the financial sector, knowing that that sector was highly exposed to oil and power. Now that we're seeing oil price above almost 7 years high, it's bad that those banks, what those provision for, and there's no recovery, those loans will become automatically an income for them. And investors are already looking at taking advantage of that, seeing that the results will be coming no month from now. They're not positioning ahead of the number. Look at what happened in the FBN holding yesterday. Tell you that investors are already taking position ahead. And that alone is also have kind of trickled down to other banking sector. That is why I say banking, another financial software that led the gainers yesterday, especially in the banking sector and the insurance, followed by the industrial goods. These are areas that people are saying that at the end of the year, the possibility that these numbers coming from this sector will be good. But especially the banks and the industrial goods, because of industrial goods, because of the infrastructure gap we have in Nigeria, and government is also spending more to kind of give us infrastructure. That means there will be a lot of demand for this industrial goods, building material. That's why people are taking vision already in stuff like WAPCO, stuff like BOA, and also and the Dangote Cement. Why the banking sectors, banks like Access Bank, UBA, Zenith Bank, people already taking advantage of the position ahead of their number. But the thing was that if this number come, the market finally, the actual number, and they beat the expectation, to ask where to the market, being the last quarter of the year that there was a lot of seasonality movement in the equity market and also the general economy, we expect that this will influence the market.
Let me quickly come in. You talk about the construction, the construction index or sector. Are we beginning to see the impact of the fact that the construction or infrastructure, it's having one of the largest, will I say, allocation in the 2022 budget? Is that why we're having that activities there?
Actually, it's part of it because every investment gives expectation. Now that there is no kind of a good provision for infrastructure, it's always also rough on us. So don't forget that recently we set up a what we call infrastructure bank, bank to drive infrastructure in Nigeria. That means those especially those are into cement manufacturing and also the construction company like Julius Berger will press and improve activities in that sector. Most investors are thinking ahead are already taking position. But for yesterday, what is happening that after the market has recorded a pullback, those pullbacks give opportunity to investors to see some highly sound equities. Those fundamental sound equities selling at a discount, they have to jump in to take position ahead of their safety number. For me, this is what we expect in the market. And if the market is able to recover all a loss of money, gaining 0.45, tell you that market is already strong going towards that. Don't forget also in the history of Nigerian markets, I will say it again, that for 22 years, markets lost in 10 years in the month of October and also gained 10 years in the month of October. For that 22 years, it tells you that this month of October is already a bull market because it's usher in position taking starting from September, October, November till end of the year because most of the companies instead of the exchange has December at year end. And this is just coming in and also the economy to the market by first quarter of 2022.
It's all right.
But there are people already positioned ahead of because we are seeing that earnings will support good dividend payout.
Okay. I think we should leave it there today. Thank you so much for your time. Ambrose Omodion is the Chief Research Officer, Invest Data Consulting. Thank you so much for talking to us on Business Breakfast.
Thank you.
Okay, let's turn our attention to other stories now. Activities in the exchange rate between the Naira and the US dollar close at 414 Naira, 30 kobo to the dollar at the investors and exporters window. Naira appreciated against the US dollar on Tuesday to close 414 30 kobo, representing 0.02% gain when compared to the previous record. In the same vein, the exchange rate at the parallel market closed at 568 Naira to the US dollar, representing 6.50 drop when compared to 574 Naira, 50 kobo that was recorded the previous trading day. All right, let's look at the activities in the fixed income market now. System liquidity opened the day at 168.4 billion Naira, while the interbank core rate eased by 500 basis points to close at 5%. Trading in the secondary market was mixed as at the end of trading yesterday, with yields declining in the bond space, while the treasury bill market was sell side-driven. In the bond segment, average yield on benchmark bond declined by a single basis point due to buy-side activity at the short end of the curve. So the yield on the 12.40% of federal government bonds is 16 basis points to settle at 12.72%, Wide in the Treasury bill space, sell-side activity at the short end of the market saw yield rise 4 basis points on average. Finally, the minimal activity across the open market operation space resulted into flat at the close of the day. So what is analysts saying? They are saying that they anticipate lukewarm trading in the Treasury bill space as the primary market auction takes the center stage, while they expect trading in the bond market to follow a similar pattern in the absence of market catalysts. I think that's where we'll wrap it up this morning on Business Breakfast. Many thanks for watching. I am Frank Omalape. I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye for now.